it's like the credibility too of it, like because the fact that Joe Rogan has gone down all those rabbit holes and like he's always saying like Jamie, pull that up, like fact checking shit. He's done the DMT, he's done all the like psychedelics, he's done all the experimental shit, and he's talked to like brilliant people, physicists, scientists, theologists, like what else? Fucking archaeologists and stuff that talk about all these things that are related to religion. And for some reason, he's gravitating. I wouldn't say he's even gravitating more towards it. He's starting to be more perceptive of it. And I think that is a interesting thing. And I think a lot of these people, especially like these famous people, not to speak for them, but it's like there's something about it that is appealing to them. And I think there's like this widespread like understanding that there's something about it that's like I don't want to say it's like spiritual, but calling them to it. Because like you say like you've talked about like all these religions or studied these religions and stuff, and it's like I don't really remember the last time Joe Rogan talked about Islam or Buddhism necessarily as in depth and stuff. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like you've gone down those rabbit holes of understanding it and stuff, and you can compare and contrast like kind of more so I think you can get a grip on why it makes more sense to gravitate towards that, but also you can use the argument that like in Western society that is the baseline
Right.
for all this shit is like Christian Jesus Christ, you know, churches like Christmas and all that stuff, like we're born into it to
Right,
an
which is
extent.
why I ran away so hard from Christianity because I did not want to be brainwashed into an idea. And like when I got older, I realized no matter what, you are brainwashed into something. That doesn't mean that it's not real, but it means that you are
Mm,
brainwashed. So unless like for me at that time, unless I was willing to like remove the complete idea of Christianity, that was the only way for me to step back and see like do I one day gravitate towards it? You know, and it became an 8 year journey, like
mm,
without Christianity and things like that. But like the more that like learned, like I always say to you, like the one thing that
mm,
gets me is that all sin leads to death, and that whole concept of it just I started realizing
mm,
so many truths about life, and that like for every time that you sin, like these bad things happen in your life, and God's been warning us about it. And like that on its own, like I only ended up in that position from avoiding God and going down the path of what I thought was moral, what I thought was right. And you know,
mm,
obviously you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't steal, but you know, you can watch pornography, or you can smoke weed, or you can do these things, and then you realize one day you get addicted to these things or whatever it may be. And it's like that with all the sins, like no matter what it is. So you know, if you're not like basically following biblical principles, you're going to keep on running into major issues in your life. Like that's just a fact. And I think that Joe Rogan experienced, if he really is coming to God, I think like a lot of people, they experience the evil, like whatever you want to call it, in the world right now, meaning, you know, the celebrities dressing up like the devil, and all of the
mm.
mass media like pushing certain agendas and certain things. Everyone's promoting like aborting babies and doing drugs and all of these things that were like deep down in our heart, we're like, this doesn't feel right. And I think that we started to watch the good versus evil polarity take place.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what I was thinking about mentioning is like that whole like idea of like the whole theme of the Bible or a major theme of the Bible is like this sin, the concept of sin and stuff. And you've expressed that before, talking about like how sin actually leads to death, and death can be like over dramatized like way of saying it, but it's like you said, like if you get into porn, like that could lead you down a very bad path. And like there's been marriages and families that have been ruined and destroyed by porn and stuff. But it's like this whole idea like that sin exists is like a physical experience that we can actually comprehend physically that brings truth to the Bible. Like it kind of brings the Bible to life, understanding that like if you do these things, you will watch your life fall apart
Right.
potentially.
Right.
But one of the weird things about that is like people dabble in that shit and they still somehow maintain some sort of like normalcy,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like when we talk about like sin, it's like what exactly is like the idea of like sin leading to death? Because like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you could even argue that like sin can lead to life, you know, because it's like if you can if you continue like following this path of like sin and it brings you to a point where you're like, you know what, I realize this is wrong and stuff, it can cause you to turn around.
Well,
You know?
that's the. I mean, that is the definition of yin and yang, and that's where things get complicated because, you know, there is truth that good and evil simultaneously work together, and it's the harmony of the world. It's a very weird thing, which is kind of different than like what Christianity kind of naturally teaches. You know, like it might be being interpreted wrong, but they don't really talk about the fact that it is like a synergistic relationship very often. You know,
Mm.
but yeah, you said something else, but
I mean, to me, it's like I see it as this
mm, yeah.
like, uh,
Well,
you go.
yeah, I was gonna say like because you were saying with death, like you know maybe not everything leads to death. Like it can also lead to life, but that's just because of the pain that you go through. But you can also choose to learn the lesson faster. Like you don't have to come out with your hands covered like in burns and your feet falling off. I mean, you can, and then you'll end up hopefully in the right place. But for every person that ends up in the right place, there's a person that died outside on the damn ground and like they didn't do okay, you know, because you
Yeah.
do fall deep enough into sin, and like, you know, like I always say, it's every sin, you know, whether it's sexual sin. You go and you have sex with enough women, eventually you're going to end up with a child, and you may not have that may not have been the perfect mother, and then you end up with a broken home and all of these different things, and you're starting to destroy the world through that. Or you could you get an STD and people are like, it's real, it's real,
Mm.
calm down now, you know what I'm saying? Like all these things
Yeah, yeah.
are negative consequences, but the way that you avoid those consequences is finding a beautiful wife and being with her, and that's like what God taught us, and that is what allows us to build families. It's what allows us to raise people properly, and for the synergistic relationship of yin and yang, the man and the female, the penis and the vagina, like the perfect harmony. It's like it fits perfectly together, and that's how it's supposed to
Mm.
be. Like the two become one, and you know, I think that when you don't have that, I think you're missing out on a part of life. But it just goes down through all of the different sins, you know, like you don't maintain a sober mind, okay, but eventually you end up addicted, and then you end up regretting your addictions, and then you're on a journey trying to undo every addict wishes they never had done it, but it's too late. There's no
Mm.
U-turn. And it's like once again, like sure sin can lead you in the right direction, but I think the thing that a lot of people need to realize is that you don't have to go down that deep.
Yeah. And something about this that like I'm very strong about this opinion and stuff, but it's like the people that do sin, like everybody to some degree does experience sin. Like no matter who you are, there is some like moral compass that is inside of you. Like, and I mean even sociopaths like fucking like Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy and all these people, they acknowledge like, yes, what I did is absolutely wrong. I get that. But to what degree they understand of how wrong it is, like that's the part that can be debated. But it's like I feel that the whole concept of like Christianity is legit because when I read the Bible and stuff, I see that it's like it's laying out these, I don't want to call them ground rules, but it's laying out this outline of like this is what life is intended to be. Life is supposed to be like an experience with God and the blessings that he gives us. But because we're sinful creatures and we do all this bad stuff, there's reason for us to be concerned about like, well, now that I've done these bad things, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with me? And then the very like core of it, I think this is where I have a strong opinion about is that like we need redemption. And that is what separates Christianity from all these other religions is that like we get redemption through sacrifice because the same thing like sin leading to death, something has to die as a consequence of the bad things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the only religion that really indicates from my understanding that like something that truly has died to replace our punishment is basically the whole concept of the Christ, of
Yeah.
the Messiah coming to earth and like dying for us and like redeeming us. And it's like out of all the religions, like even the yin and yang concept, it's like if something lives, something has to die and stuff. It's the ultimate like sacrifice, I guess, that will like be able to redeem us. If you follow what I'm saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, you like I always take things from a literal standpoint first. You know, like um,
Mm.
meaning that I bring it like to the physical realm and try to understand how this applies on this earth before I go into like the spiritual aspect of things, which I'm not saying is the right way, but that is how I am. And wait, what were you just saying about? You were saying you finished off saying something.
Like the thing that
Oh,
like strongly
yeah,
resonates
the
with me about
Christ.
like the faith of Christianity
Yeah.
is that we covered that sin is an inevitable fault on humankind's part, and because we have sinned, we weren't supposed to sin. We need redemption through that, and the only religion I believe that provides that truest form of redemption is the Christian faith. And Christian is a strange word, but like the faith in Christ, because Christ is the ultimate sacrifice for us. So something
Yeah.
has to be paid for the things that we've done wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
You know?
yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. Like in the literal aspect, like if there like are people that are watching that are like, like maybe atheist or something like that. I mean, one perspective that I hold is just like, okay, if you think that the Bible is just a story or something, well, either way, this book was written with these truths about life that are absolutely factual. Like I mean, filled through. Like people a lot of times like to say like there's some good nuggets in the Bible. No, 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 no. Go read the book of Proverbs or go like it is just filled. I've never seen anything like that. It is almost to the point where it's like, how did they identify all these truths that are everlasting, meaning that they apply 5,000 years ago and they apply today? There's not many things. Like I could give you advice on crypto, but it ain't going to matter in what I'm saying, however many years. Or I could give you advice on, like, let's say health, right? But there might be new things that we learned about health in the future, but the things that they taught somehow stand the test of time, like forever and ever, you know and yeah, I mean, I think that with the other religions, like like if you go with like Judaism, and then you look at Christianity, and you look at Islam, the three religions that are kind of built together in this, like they're supposed to be the sequels to each other, prequels or sequels to each other. And just for me, it makes the most sense that like the best story is the story where God brings himself to earth and he dies for the sins of people. So, and he teaches us love. Like he shifts and really teaches humans what it means to love one another and to, yeah, be able to be forgiven and to be a good person, like a truly good person, and that you can do it. You can walk this life and be a good person. Like it can be done. And it gives the people hope versus like a story where, it's this book written about like the Messiah to one day come, and they're all kind of like waiting for, like with the Jews, they're still waiting for the Messiah to come, even though it's like all written about and prophesied and a lot of those things, like the and then same thing with like Islam, it's an entire, I mean, it is pretty workspace. It's very workspace on the things that you have to do. You have to pray X amount of times a day. You got to do this. You got to do that. And although I respect the discipline, there definitely isn't this like forgiveness of like who you are and things like that. And I understand why people don't like that as well. I get it. Like they think it's all like hogwash. Like there's no forgiveness, but like I think that there is beauty in that story, and I think that there's something true to it. And I think like we can allow like who Christ was and the lessons that we were supposed to learn to transform who we are.
Mm. And like something that you're talking about to me, like I think that's important is like I feel like it's broken up into several parts. Like there's people that, first off, there's people that have no idea what the hell we're talking about. Like they just hear Bible and then they're like, oh, there's people that go to church and they believe in that shit. And as far as they're concerned, they think the Bible was written in like the 1800s or something, and it was just used to like control people. And like there's people that are just uneducated and uninformed. Then there's people who do like logical approach understanding to like this whole theology of the Bible and stuff. So they study like the history and like compare and contrast it to other religions and stuff. And then one thing that I feel like is almost over dramatized at sometimes is like the spiritual aspect of it, which is like these people like that guy, the COVID-19, and he blows and he's like, get rid of COVID-19. He bought that jet, Kenneth Copeland.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that. Like there's people like that, and it's like, so how are we supposed to make sense of this? And why would somebody like Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan like subscribe to something so like there's so much like mysterious, like shrouded like information about it, because there's so many misrepresentations of it. But it's like at the end of the day, like I think it comes down to like, personally, if you are genuinely concerned with it, and this is kind of where we talk about NPCs sometimes. Like, I think people are NPCs. Like, we've all ran into these motherfuckers that just don't know what the fuck time of day it is, and they're just living, and I don't know, they have no purpose almost, it seems like. But it's like, if you genuinely are concerned with these things, it comes down to like how much evidence is being presented to you for you to make a conclusion that one, God may be real. I'm not even saying definitively, but God may be real. And the things that the Bible is talking about, kind of like how we're talking about the logical, practical application of sin and stuff, how much sense does this make for me to truly believe that this could be a thing? And I think that's kind of where Joe Rogan and all these, I don't want to say celebrities, but these people, because they're just regular people too, I think, to a degree. But it's like they're seeing these things and they've experienced these things. They could have whatever they want. They've experienced all the depths of like drugs, riches, like women, and all these things. But for some reason, they're still being drawn to this idea of like, I need forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that to a degree, that's where we start delving into the spiritual realm of this. Like, there's some, and we can get into like the physiological factors of it, like the brain and like brain chemistry and stuff, like why we feel guilt and stuff. But it's like, it's all to me, it's very strange how like, even there's even moral people, I can't think of a specific example, that like live pretty moral lives, but at the end of the day they still feel this like emptiness and something. So there's a spiritual aspect of it that I feel like has to come down to experience. But the thing that leads up to it ultimately, I think, is like the stuff that we're talking about, is like, what can we observe in this lifetime that makes sense in correlation to this spiritual idea of the Bible and who God is and stuff. And that's the mysterious part of it. You know, it's open to interpretation.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what to say for like, you got all like the people that have been coming to God. It's like Andrew Tate. Now this ain't Christianity, but just people that acknowledge that there's good, evil, God, creator, and all of these things. Like, that's a good starting place for sure. And you know, Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Shia LaBeouf. Like I said, my boy Big Nick, Gideon, like a famous streamer. There, you know, Elliot Hulse, like so many people that are deep thinkers, and this is just like what they're coming to. I mean, Jordan Peterson's a very smart guy. I mean, like a lot of people, it's just funny because like, you know, like one of my friends, you know, he looks up to Patrick Bet Davis, he looks up to Andrew Tate, he looks up to all these people, and he believes their advice on everything. But then when it comes down to the Bible and then bringing up God or anything like that, they're like, oh yeah, they're retards. Oh, they're idiots. Like they don't know shit. And it's like they're so like, you acknowledge their intelligence, but the minute that they brought God into this, it's like you think that they're stupid, and it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's like, we kind of had a conversation to play like the devil's advocate. It's almost like, I feel like a lot of people that just, like you said, view it as hogwash and stuff. It's like they're very much so capable of like writing it off as like, well, it's like children arguing over who's more powerful, like Superman or Batman, you know? And it's like these made up things because their experience is solely focused on. And I mean, I'm willing to say this, you know, like if you are totally closed off to the idea that God exists and stuff, I think you are generally a self-centered person. You know, because it's like you're taking ideas from other humans and observations from other humans from a specific category, being like scientists and physicists that lean more towards the atheistic side based on their own research and their own observations, and you're concluding that there's no way God exists.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's a very self-centered idea, because now what you're doing to a degree, I'm not saying this is everybody, but to a degree, you're saying like, I, based on my observation and what these other people who are much more smarter than me can say, I am going to conclude that there's no way that God is real. That, and basically to that point, I would argue that you're throwing morality out the window. And some people are going to say, well, no, because over evolution, like over time, evolution has caused us to feel sympathy and empathy towards people that are like less fortunate than us and things like that. But it's like, there's plenty of people believe in God, and even some who do believe in God, that don't give a fuck about the misfortunes of other people. You know, so it's not necessarily a like there's not enough conclusive evidence for somebody to just write off God as being like a mystical fake thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I think people need to open their mind to be able to approach this whole idea of who God is or what God is from a standpoint of their own personal experience and what they truly can observe about their own life. Because I feel like in school, like public school and stuff, we're teaching kids about evolution and things like that, which is fine because I think it's very interesting and like educational. But it's like to conclude that God does not exist, I think is like preposterous because it's like, one, nobody's going to live long enough to be able to tell that shit. But two, it's like for the same amount of evidence that God doesn't exist, I believe there's enough evidence to prove that God does exist. And it's kind of like a whole tangent. There's so many different like branches we could go down, but it's like the whole idea is that the reason why people are coming to God and then people are living these NPC lives and stuff, which I want to talk about that a little bit also, is just like NPC people. But like the reason this is all happening is just because people's experiences are going to dictate what appears to be real and what doesn't appear to be real. And it's like if you're not interested in God, you're never going to see God. But if you are interested in God, chances are you'll come across something that's going to compel your mind and be like, oh fuck, like maybe there is something more to this. You know?
Yeah, no.
But
yeah, I mean, I think that concluding that there's no God, I mean, it's a faith at the end because like I went down both of the journeys. I went down full atheist, full Christianity, and both times I reached a ledge. There was a ledge where science couldn't prove any further. There was a ledge where science was running into problems. There was a ledge where Christianity was at the edge, and it's just like, damn, you got to have faith. Which one are you going to choose? Like every path that I went down, that's how, and I always end up back on the ledge, and I'm just looking over it, and I'm like, so it's all just about faith again. It's about faith. Like no one actually knows anything. Like I always say, nobody knows what happens when. It's the only thing that we might never ever know. What happens when you die?
Yeah.
We like I said, everything on this earth dies. Everything around us dies. There's death everywhere, and yet none of us knows at all what it actually is. We talk about we don't know what's in space. We don't know what's in the oceans. No, you want to talk about not knowing? Death. We don't know.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the trippiest things to think about is like that shit will give somebody a panic attack if you think too deeply about it.
Yeah, like it's something that we all do. Everything does, like on a microscopic level, on a mass level, on every level, planets, stars, people, cells, animals, death, like dead bodies everywhere. As horrible as that sounds, but yet none of us know where it would actually happen.
And it's fucking crazy. I mean, like even me, like I do believe that there is more to this. Like we've had that conversation before where I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen, but something is going to happen. And it's like for some people to be so conclusive and like sure about like what they know is going to happen like when they die, it's like I think even that's a bit of a stretch, and that's coming from someone who does lean more towards the idea that I think heaven could be real. It most likely to me is real, but it's like, am I going to sit here and say I know that for a fact? No. And like you said, it comes to a point of faith, and it's like it's an interesting like concept because it's like going back to the original part of the conversation, it's like, what evidence do you have gives you enough like reason to believe that this is the truth? And it's like at the end of the day, like some people are always going to live in this limbo state of not accepting some sort of truth. I'm kind of digging myself a fucking hole because I don't even know like how would you even be able to argue that it is truth if nobody knows? But it's like we at some point we all subscribe to either we submit to never knowing or we subscribe to something being true.
Yeah. Well,
and we,
I think for me, like my journey was first like doing my best to eliminate any beliefs that I put on myself and to stay as far away from those beliefs as possible. And then like on the journey, I just started, like I said, I started to realize certain things. Like I started to realize like, the all sin leading to death and like all of these things that are just like throughout the Bible. It's like every time someone comes up with a new lesson, it's like, that was in the Bible. And it's like, every single one, like, and it just gets so complicated. Like it's like I say, like scientists say that energy created everything, and that energy is always created in whatever. And for years, Christians have always said, yeah, God has always existed. God's always existed. And then they find out one day that energy has always existed and it can't be created or destroyed. And they were like, yeah, that's what we were trying to say. And they're like, like, you know, like that's different. Or like, this is something else that I find that's interesting. It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson says that we are made out of stardust. Have you heard that before? That all people like were made of stardust. Brother, what did God inhale through his nostrils? Dust. God, it literally says that God breathed in dust to create man, and that man is made out of dust. And then he comes out and says that we're made out of dust. And it's just like, yo, y'all reading this? You know?
It's so weird, yeah.
and it's like, and once again, are you going to stand on the faith and believe that the thing 5,000 years ago, which literally said that we were made out of dust, is true? Or are you going to believe the science today that says we're made out of dust is true? It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you believe, but are you going to choose the faith? You know, like both are faith. Like you were magically created by dust, meaning like it just, the idea behind it is that energy built up and the energy became so strong that it like pulled together dust particles and like exploded out to create this because there was such a large mass built up. Kind of like, I think that's what asteroids are. They're large like particles of dust. But it's like, you either have to have faith that it randomly happened or you have to have faith that God created. But it's sure as hell interesting that 5,000 years ago it was already referenced.
You know? Yeah.
It's just like, huh?
I mean, it's like I don't know how you think about it, but it's like we are finding ourselves in the great predicament of man right now. It's like we're talking about like, well, what do we do with this like information, you know? And it's like technically we're kind of playing on the fence. Like we're not saying like, well, this makes a lot of sense, so we should believe in this, or we're not saying that for either side, but we're just kind of like talking about like what these things could mean. You know, but then like there's people that do fully subscribe to each side, and it's like, well, how could we like resolve that? How could like, why is it that some people like are so willing to do that? And it's like they have spiritual experiences while some people are just like, no, life is meaningless. We're just gonna die, return to like dust and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I think I have my personal beliefs, but it's like whenever I have this conversation, it makes me question. It's like, what the fuck does this mean? Like, what is any of this? You know, because we're sitting here talking about all the ideas of what this all could mean, but it makes zero sense, basically. You know, it's like we just came from somewhere, and that's all we know. Like, we just happen to be here.
But the reason why I still go back to the Bible, and the reason why it's like, okay, so we talked about like the science parts where, I mean, like I could keep on going forever about like all the scientific things that people say that are literally written out in the Bible. And then once again, like you end up at this faith point, and are you going to, like this other one also teaches you about every lesson of life. Like, okay, great. He said that we were made out of dust. What else does he have to say about life? Is there anything else that he has there? Like, you know, how should we raise our children? Anything like that? No, nothing. But this one is filled with like it is the right way to raise your children. Not like a way. It is the right way. Like you can't go and have, you know, 5 different baby mamas and have a very peaceful life where your kids are raised properly. I'm not saying that they're all going to turn out horrible, but clearly that's not what life was about. Clearly, this is the definition of how life was supposed to be lived. And like, I don't know, let's see what Richard Dawkins has for us. And I get it. Like atheists might not, like they say like, oh, I don't go to them for that advice. Like I figure it out on my own. Well, that's the thing. You're going to spend your whole life figuring it out on your own when it was literally written out perfectly. And even though you don't need it, like, and even if you don't want to believe in God, fine. But how dare you not at least open up the book and read the lessons that are in it and see, like, but when you guys open up the lessons that are atheists, you guys only want to turn to the specific verses that are like controversial or stress you out or whatever, even though there's 1 million words in the Bible, 1 million. And you guys go to like that's crazy talk.
No, it's like there is like irrefutable truths in it. And you could say that for like the yin and yang concept. You could be like, that's an irrefutable truth. But it's like, irrefutable truth. You're saying the specifics of how like specific it gets, talking about like marriage, wives, children, how to raise your children, how to be a man, like how to be the best version of yourself and stuff. It's like it's all written out in the Bible, and like to me, it just like that's that evidence thing. It's like this to me conclusively, not conclusively, but it's like it adds to the conclusion that the potential for this truly being the word of God like makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's like on top of that, the biggest point for me, the biggest thing about me is like that whole thing that like we all have sinned, we've all done bad things and stuff, and it's like if God is perfect and all this stuff, like the Bible says, like, and that's the whole point of sin. Sin is imperfection. And it's like if we are wanting a relationship with a perfect God, it's like we can't have a relationship with him if we're imperfect. And it's like that's why we need that redemption. And that's where it like everything that we've been talking about leads up to that. And that's the very like that's the bridge between like you and God, I think.
And I think that like for some people they may say to that, well, that sounds wrong. Like God made it that way, or you know, like whatever it may be. But it's interesting because people don't seem to have a problem with it at all when we talk about karma. When we talk about karma, everybody agrees. They agree that like that you need to evolve up the karmic ladder to become a better person and to reach enlightenment or to do these things. And it's like, what do you think that we're describing? We're literally describing that we weren't good enough in our negative karmic state, and we had to repent, which is part of karmic retribution is the repentance process. So like it is identified. And the thing is that all religions have identified truths. I just think that Christianity identified the most truths. So like and like almost every single truth in human existence, you know, and you know, like with Buddhism, the thing that they did well is they identified yin and yang. But that means that they drew the picture very well. However, Christianity has always identified yin and yang in the sense that it's the polarity of good and evil pulling on Adam and Eve. And then it's the story of Job going through this painful journey, which is what yin and yang represents, only to come out on the other side a better man. It's always been describing like they did a better job of like circling it and writing of the line and the wave and explaining the differences between the two, but it was being described, the process of yin and yang and going through sin and coming, like the story of the kid turning away from his father and like coming back through that negative journey and coming back to his father. Like it all describes essentially what yin and yang does represent. You know, it's the good and evil, the polarities of the two. But we only have an issue with it when we talk about Jesus and when we also talk about like this being also the devil. You know what I'm saying? The two things. But when we just call it negative karma and positive karma, everyone's like, yeah. You know?
No, and it's weird because like even that alone, the Bible does address. It says like this is devil shit. Like this is demonic possession basically. It's like people who like get angry about that stuff. They get wrathful. They get stirred up and they're like, no, fuck you and your Bible. Like that's all garbage, you know? But it's like you said, like when we talk about all these other things, like you could talk about like you could go to a EDM festival and talk to dudes tripping on ketamine and shit. And they'll talk about like all light magic and softflogio frequencies and shit, and like they're all good with that and stuff, but the moment you bring up like one truth and reference it to the Bible, they're immediately like, that's fucking bullshit, dude. That's not true. It's just like infuriating because people it says in the Bible that there's people that are going to be like that. They're going to like be disgusted at the like sound of like God or truth.
And I think everybody knows someone whose head spins around like a demon anytime you like just start talking about like God. You start bringing up God and they're like, bro, like especially like specifically Christianity and stuff like that. They're just like, bro, I don't want to hear that shit. Get that shit out of here. Like it's lame, like whatever. And they're just so reject. But I mean, half the people are rejects of truth, like meaning like they don't want to accept that like sin is real and they need to turn from it regardless of Jesus or not, regardless of an afterlife. Like your life is fucked if you don't make a change. And some people don't want to acknowledge that truth. And then I think other people don't want to acknowledge the spiritual truth that, you know, that the things that
it's
they
the
do.
NPCs, man.
Yeah.
It's the NPCs.
Well, I think that there's but I think that there's a pool of NPCs, but within the pool of NPCs, there's also another pool of more like evil people, more like people that they're not NPCs, they're intelligent, but they're just like, fuck that. I think the NPCs are just like Ooh, I
Uh,
don't know, you know. Like they get angry too. They get angry too, but it's not the same
uh,
rage always, you know.
it's over like if they don't have their favorite Slim Jims at the gas
Yeah.
station. Shit.
Yeah.
Like not to stereotype
Like
NPCs,
people that
but
just drive around like road rage and stuff like that, like to me that's like
yeah,
NPC.
yeah.
Like how are you
They're
mad?
not really hurting anybody or
Yeah.
doing anything. They
You're just
just
like this
exist.
being in your
And
car like and you just drive
then,
by and you just look at them and you're like, "Yo, you good, bro?" Like
yeah. But it is weird because like that, like when we do talk about NPCs, it does bring up the whole thing, like
the
how
chosen.
Elon Musk like
Oh.
says like, oh, we could be living in a simulation, and it's like, well, and then we were talking about one time like, what if we woke up out of the simulation?
Bro, I told
Like
you. I
when you
almost
really think
did.
about what that means, huh?
I said I told you. I almost did. A few too many edibles. I swear I almost came out my spine, bro.
But it's like, what if like you do like wake up and it has been 5 minutes and you're on the fucking mothership and you look in the mirror and you're a fucking like
Slug.
weird looking slug
Yeah.
and that's who you actually are and we're just these like created characters, these avatars that are experiencing something that we generated, our emotions, our
But here
thoughts, our
here's the
feelings, and
thing.
everything.
But here's my thing. And like I don't mean it to your point, but I mean it to people that think that like it's like who
Mm.
gives a fuck? Because guess what? You're playing the game. You're playing the game.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like do you want to play the game where you like end up in jail and your life ends up like shit or
yeah.
like you
Like
know
you still want to win. You don't want to lose the fucking game. But
yeah, like some people are like, "Oh, it's everything is just a simulation, man. I'm just gonna chill." Like, I don't know.
yeah,
Nah, fam. Like it.
no, you might as well do the best you can, regardless. It's not a good argument to just like write off everything, because it's like, wouldn't you want to fucking like beat the game even if it was a simulation? But I don't know what Elon Musk thinks about any of this shit. I'm curious what he would
That.
have to say about God. I'm sure he said something about it, but it's like to truly like pick his
Oh
mind
no.
and be like, why do you think that there's like more likely a simulation happening than like an existence that God created or something? I don't know.
Let me see here. Um,
I do got to take a piss. Hang on.
bro, I think I'm doing something wrong. Can you see my screen right now? What do you see?
Um, I see a bunch of arrows.
You don't see me on YouTube?
You mean like your screen or like your actual computer screen? I see
Like,
your computer screen.
like, did you see me on YouTube?
No, is your stream going right now?
Yeah.
Hang on one second. Let me go on YouTube.
Oh, I think I did it right now. It's gonna look shitty just for 1 second though. Hold on.
Your thing's called Beyond the Fall, right?
Yeah, but just type in Chris Sunni. That's the easiest way you'll find it.
This should it appear as like live?
Yeah, it does.
It things go beyond. Oh, yeah.
You see it?
Yeah.
We would have had viewers if we would have went Devin Haney. Or
Oh yeah.
we were popping, bro. Now this is better conversation, but that's how we could have.
I enjoy it.
Huh?
I'm enjoying.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Dude, I'm looking at such terrible things on Instagram, dude. That shit, it's so great.
All right, I'm about to pull something up real quick. Look at this.
This is my Africa. Look at what? Joint activity?
Yeah.
I grew up in New Jersey. You know, my father, he's a really impressive businessman. He was very atheist, very secular. Didn't realize there has to be more to life than that.
I didn't realize it, but I was never really being taught about Israel and the importance of Israel. I would read it in the Old Testament, but I wasn't really being taught through that lens.
My father's side of the family is actually Jewish, but I was not raised.
Oh
in the
my
faith. I didn't know
God, my
anything
shit's
about
going
Judaism. I
crazy.
didn't know anything about Israel.
Is advocated, and
So to make this church, we have to do.
Hang on.
We're wondering if you could do us a quick solid.
What the fuck is happening? There we go. Okay, I got it.
on the show.
Personal words.
Listen to this.
It's okay. To make this church, we have to make sure. We're wondering if you could do us a quick solid and accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior.
On the show.
Personal words, it's a quick prayer.
I mean, let's just say, like, I agree with the principles that Jesus advocated, and there's great wisdom in the teachings of Jesus, and I agree with those teachings. And things like turn the other cheek are very important, because as opposed to an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. So forgiveness, is important, and treating people as you would wish to be treated. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Very important.
So it's like a 60-70%. Yes.
As Einstein would say, I believe in the God of Spinoza. But hey, if Jesus is saving people, I mean, I wouldn't stand in his way. They'll be sure, I'll be saved. Why not?
Sweet, we did it.
Yeah.
I think he just said yes.
We got him. All right, we got him.
We got what we wanted to be saved.
That shit is kind of crazy that they did him like that.
Yeah, dude. He tried to navigate that as best as he could, but these dudes are just fucking setting them up.
They were definitely talking a little crazy on that one.
But hey, we got Elon Musk. We got him.
Hold on. How do I get this to stop?
But that goes to show also, dude, like, here's, like, probably the smartest man in the world right now saying, like, yes, I agree with the
I grew up in New
teaching.
Jersey. You know, my father, he's a really
hold on.
impressive businessman. He
I
was
don't know what I did.
very atheist, very secular.
I heard this thing earlier. It's
Why
like
can't
playing-
I X out of my joint activity?
Hit it, escape. I don't know. That works for me. Alright, maybe not.
No, it just keeps on trying to make me share an activity. Oh yeah, I'm done for. It's okay, I'll just fix the OBS. But yeah, I mean, he says, like, he even says himself that he believes that we had to be created. Like, and he's like, well, something created us. He literally says that. He says something created us. And I think that's pretty interesting.
Dude, it's too weird not to think that. Like, you know how I said, I don't mean this literally, but it's like, it's stupid to think that, like, we came from nothing. Like, you're stupid if you think that, because it's like, just look around you. Look how fucking weird this is. Like, we're sitting in a building talking over fucking cameras and all this weird shit. It's like, shit is too weird to think that, like, there's nothing behind it. Like, this is just too fucking weird. Like, this is such a weird experience that it's like, I mean, talking about conclusions, I think it's safe to conclude, for me, there's enough evidence to say that there is some weird ass shit going on, and this is not like nothing. Like, this isn't nothing. Like, people that say we came from nothing and will return to nothing, nah, fuck that. That's not gonna happen. Like, there's something weird going on, dude. It's too weird. Like, fucking cars, roads, like animals, fucking, like, have you looked at a fucking jellyfish, bro?
Yeah, you're
like
just
that shit. Huh?
You're just a piece of bacteria that you're a smart,
crazy.
You're a smart little critter.
Even if that's the case, if we, dude, that would make it even weirder. It's even like the idea of evolution makes it even fucking weirder. Like for there to be like some creator that just says, you know what, I'm gonna make a person. Here's a torso, here's arms, here's feet. I'm gonna make one version. Here's another version called a female. There's male, female. Reproduce, live on this planet. Okay, that makes sense. But for fucking stardust to fucking explode out of nothing, literally nothing, and then all of these fucking planets just like pop into existence. They're floating around the sun. The universe is continually expanding. Bacteria somehow forms from all the fucking minerals and like molecules in the universe, and then somehow over like billions of years we're walking around driving cars and fucking like doing all this weird shit. It's like that. What? Like that's just normal. Like, we're just supposed to be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. No, that's fucking weird. Yeah. It's crazy, dude. Like, there's some weird ass shit going on and people don't realize it, dude. Like, I think this is like one of the main things like that we should be thinking about, because it's like, this is like, if there is like just hang on, like looking at what this fucking is, and we don't even know what it means, but looking at it, and we have this idea that like there's good and bad, like, and it's like we have this built-in idea that there's consequences for things. It's like just that alone would make you think like maybe we should be doing something good. Maybe there's something important about us doing good things.
Yeah.
You know, like it's weird. It's fucking weird, man. That's the best way to describe it. It's weird.
Yeah, no matter what, like there are universal principles that are in place, that's for sure. And I don't know if all atheists take like account for the principles that are in place. Like, sin is real and good is real, and there's like things happen in the world and things happen to you based on those things. And look at my cat.
It's the why. It's the why though. Like, that's the weird part. The weird part is why. Why does it matter what we do? Why does it matter if you kill somebody? Why does it matter if you help somebody? Like, why is that important? And like, going back to what we just covered, it's like, you just fucking think that like all of this just fucking randomly out of nothing, out of 0%, it just turns into this thing. It's like, to me, that's just like, come on, dude. You're fooling yourself if you think this is just like nothing and we're going to return to nothing. It's just weird as fuck. Too weird. Too strange, man.
Do you know what the difference between moral and ethics are? I heard this recently.
I mean, textbook definition, I wouldn't say I know. Nah.
So morals are anything that leads to life. Morality leads to more life in some way. So like a negative morality leads to death. It's like a death thing. And that ethics is like other boundaries that you believe in that are like within that or something like that. But it's basically like moral. Yeah, it has to do a lot with life, which I just thought was an interesting definition, considering that I always say that sin leads to death. You know, it was interesting that morality is also defined in that same way. You know? Meaning that there's just like this universal principle that exists. Like we can use science and call it moral. We can use it like karma and call it, you know what I'm saying? We can use like that. We can do whatever we want with it, sin. But it's definitely the truth. It's definitely the truth. And I think that an atheist doesn't look at that at all. I think an atheist, for the most part, just doesn't even take much acknowledgement to all the truths that have been found in all the different religions and things like that. with evolution too, it's interesting how like I do actually feel like we accepted that really quickly. Like within, I think it was maybe like 100 years ago that we learned about evolution, and then within like 100 years, we were just like, not even like right away. We were just like, yeah, that sounds good to me. That works. Yeah, we evolved. That was us. You know, I would have expected like, hundreds of years of research to conclude this situation. Like before we start teaching it to everybody in school so quickly. Like the dude sat on an island and he saw a bird with like different shaped beaks, and then he was like, we're monkeys. I get it now. And he just like pieced it. I mean, that's what the trip to the Galapagos Islands was. He was on an island. He looked at enough animals and he came to a conclusion.
It's fucking, to me, it's stupid. Like, I'm not like saying it offensively, but I think it's just stupid. Like, it would be stupid for somebody to like.
I'm not saying it offensively. I just think that you're a retard.
I'm saying it. Like, I'm not saying like people are like brain dead or anything, but it's like to just make a conclusion, even making the conclusion about the things that I believe. It's like, it is stupid. Like, I still question the shit that I think, but it's like, that's normal. But to come to a very solid conclusion, like based on your very short experience, especially being like under 50 years of age and just concluding something, it's like, come on, dude, quit like playing yourself. Like, there's something going on and you don't fucking know what it is. None of us do. Yeah. We're trying to figure it out. That's like that's more than half of the whole human experience, is like we're trying to make sense of something that practically makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Or you just be fucking actually dumb and fucking do that, like that NPC shit where you just don't think about it, you just exist, you fucking like wake up every day, you do the same mundane things, and then you die from some fucking disease and it just sucks and you don't even care about what happens. But it's like, I don't know, I feel like the people who aren't like NPC people are actually thinking about this, and they're like, what the fuck am I? Like, what is actually happening? Why am I here? What does this all mean? And it's like, we're not gonna know, but it's just fucking trippy, and that's why people should do DMT. Just explore it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know, dude. Like, I think that's interesting is like, I still think I would probably rather, or it makes more logical sense to come to the conclusion still of like the concept of God, the principles of the Bible, because it's like, if it's all just based on faith and all of these things, it's like following the Bible and making the decision one day to just like when you understand that this is really like the best way of like living life and that this has the truth of life in it, like I think it is okay to eventually like put on your blinders if you want for your own philosophical journey and just say like this is the moral way, like this is the best morality, this is what America is founded on, this is what every construction of morality is basically based off of, and like I want to just like commit to that's fine, but I think like it's like if you conclude that there's just no God, and like, well, what did you gain from that? Like, you don't gain, there's no path of life that you gain. You just try to tell yourself, at least I didn't fall into the trap of believing a lie. That's pretty much what you gain from being an atheist. Like, that's the biggest thing. I used to walk around with my shoulders back, like I didn't fall into the trap, I'm smart. But it's like, you're really not getting anything else other than that. At least with Christianity, there comes a lot of great benefits, a lot of great things to know, to avoid, to do, to raise, to love. Like, there's so much to gain from it in comparison to just atheism.
Yeah, and it's like, if you are wrong, buddy, and you die, and then you're standing before the big man, and he's like, I tried to fucking tell you, man. Yeah. Like, you're fucked, dude. But it's, I don't know, like, even me, like I do that. Like, I close off. Like, I genuinely will say, call it ignorance or whatever, but it's like, you can hit me with whatever philosophy you want. I'm still going to resort to, like, I believe that Jesus Christ was God. I believe he was God. Like, despite all the terrible things I do and the repetitive sinning that I do and stuff, like, I believe he actually was God. I think he is the creator of the universe in human form. So it's like, I live with that blinder. Like, I do that. But it's like, the alternative is like being stuck in this limbo of like, well, I don't really know. I don't know anything. And like what you're saying, it's like the Bible does make a lot of sense logically. Like, from a human perspective, you want to live a good life, follow the Bible. And it's like, to me, that's like a point on the scoreboard for like evidence that this has truth. Like there is truth to this, you know? But like I'll go ahead and play the devil's advocate and say, well, man set up the way that the world is. You know, we could say that like we like were in tribes, we were building communities, and one community didn't like the other community. They had a different set of beliefs. Maybe they were like, we only want strong men and fucking big strong women because they're into that shit and they want to reproduce like really strong people. And then another community was like, we want kind people, we want loving people, and we want to use our brains to develop like strong houses and shit. And it's like there's just this division. Like there was so much division among people, and we set up what the world is now. And so we're living in this society, and like the ultimately whoever ended up on top made the rules for this whole game of life. And so it's like now you can make the argument that like, well, God's not real. It's just like the people that came out on top set up the rules for life, and now they have this book called the Bible, which is basically the playbook. It's like you want to live a good life within the confines of what these people made. It's like follow these rules, you know, because it could have been differently. Like say that other tribe won of just like brute force and aggression and violence and stuff. So now their Bible is don't be a pussy. Like get strong as fuck, be able to kill people, and you'll live a good life. You know, it's like it's whatever like the victor was able to write what the rules are basically.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like that's like a very like primitive view of how all of this happened, because that's leaving out the spiritual part. You know, because it's not acknowledging the fact that like we all do fucked up shit. So how do we redeem ourselves from doing all this fucked up shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that could be a compelling argument, I guess, you know.
Give me 1 second. I'm changing out the thumbnail real quick.
No, you're good.
I changed it back to boxing.
Oh, hell yeah.
They're gonna come in like, what the fuck?
No boxing.
It's okay. We're gonna box the devil tonight. Alright, we're good. Alright, summarize the last little bit of what you were saying. I heard it, but just re-summarize.
Like, it's kind of a devil's advocate type thing. Like, I'm kind of scatterbrained, but basically, like, so we live in a society that, like, theoretically, we live in a society that...
Yeah, you were saying that people want different things and they wanted different things. What was the final point to that? That's why different religions grew?
No, the reason why the Bible works in our society is because the people who won over society made it so that the Bible aligns with their beliefs. Or they made society and then they wrote the Bible to align with society's beliefs. So it's like, if like it's a game, it's
but
like,
it's impossible. Like the problem with the Bible is that it's like impossible to write something like that. I really, really struggle with the idea that that book was handed down through so many people, and like when you look at the cross references in the Bible, there's like over 100,000 cross references that have like hidden words with it, like not hidden, but they're just like these like small words that you realize that links to that and that links to that, and these all reference each other, and they maintain the exact same story. Like see, we always, you know, Christians like to, or some people would say like, oh, well, Jesus like came out of nowhere. But then when you look into the Old Testament, there was the Messiah that was written. There was God saying that in the beginning, it was with us. There is the three angels that appear and they say that they saw God. There's three, and it represents kind of like the, you know, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, like that whole Trinity idea. And then, you know, there's a lot of other things that are like that, where you see God appear as three in Old Testament stuff, and it's like, and then somehow it perfectly, even though it's being handed from like thousands of people, they finish off the story, even though it's not like they have this textbook that they're walking around with. These are like scribes and shit that are carrying it, and that shit's kind of spread out, and half of it's off of memory and like weird, like, and it's just, I have a hard time believing that. Like, I think that if I gave you a book and like we all try to write it, like the morality of the book would really end up so different, and I don't really see that, you know.
Well, like like my whole argument, I guess, like, and I don't believe this. I'm playing the devil's advocate for sure, but it's like, let's say like these people who there's two groups of people, and one group is like the only way to survive in this world is to kill the weakest people, and then provide based off of that, take what they have and give it to the people you care about. And then there's another group of people that are like, well, let's be loving to each other and let's gather and fight evil forces that approach us. Whoever wins out of those two, they're going to be at the top of the hierarchy now. So they can write the rules. So it's like if those people who are like, let's fucking kill everybody and feed our own people from the spoils that we take from these people, let's write the rule book this way. Let's say the best way to live life is to be as angry and aggressive as possible so that you could kill your opponents and take what they have and live healthily and fully and give to your family and stuff. While the other people are like, be kind and loving, and other people will be kind and loving to you. So whoever out of those two factions wins, they now can write society's like rules. And it's like if the Bible was that, it's like it's because I guess like the people who wrote the Judaic Bible, like they came out on top and they were like, this is how you live a good life because we're setting up society. You know what I mean?
No.
Well, how so?
Because that's where I talk about their true facts of life. This isn't an opinion-based thing on the best way to live life. Like we see what happens when let's go with like a polygamous type of religion where you can have 5-6 wives. Like it's very hard to maintain like a family like that. So like I just don't think it's the right philosophy. I think you still end up with broken homes, you still end up with divorce. Like Muhammad had to allow for divorce, and like he really did allow for divorce inside of the Quran. And it's because having multiple wives don't work, and the structure wasn't right. And it's like so I guess like what I'm saying is that like I really think that the Bible truly identified actual truths. Like, I think that like we talk about, you like someone could have wrote another life story, but their story would have still led to shit because it's not the Bible. And the Bible just seems to be the only one that just hits the target on every single way, on the way that is the best way to live.
One of the things about that is like the Bible predates most of those religions. Like it predates Islam. Like the Bible does technically predate Islam, because Islam came to be hundreds of years after even I think the New Testament.
But that's why I find it funny, because I find it funny that the second version of the book has even less morality than the second.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if the first version of the book was set up with a different set of rules, that would be the normal thing. So it's like if the first book was written by people that said like polygamy is okay, it is okay, then every other religion would have branched off of that, and then they would have given it their own variant taste, but the truth would still appear that true polygamy is based on that first book, and that's the correct way of living a polygamy life. So it's like
I don't know,
originally
because I just feel like if I ended up living like a polygamous life, I feel like I would still feel like, damn, I got 5 hoes screaming at me right now. I got 7 kids, and like this shit is, and like I still feel like I would have just been like, man, are you sure you guys were right about this? And I don't think I've never really felt that way about like the things that God actually has like commanded of me. Like it's like, stop being like sexually promiscuous, and I'm like, yeah. Probably like, you know what I'm saying? Probably shouldn't do that one. Like, because it makes sense. Like, it's like, that's what I'm saying. I did not want God. I did not want the Bible. I really didn't. It just, like, every sin that I was committing, like, God had already warned me about. Yeah. And like, it was on the search of getting out. Like, I was just like, this ain't working. This whole philosophy that I made up about, like, what's moral, what's this, what's that. I'm, like, literally sitting here and just, like, being consumed by my own sin. And I just think that within every other religion, you're just always going to go through that. That's what I think. I don't think that they identified enough truths. I think they found some truths, but they didn't find like all the nuggets, not all the nuggets for it to all work.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I agree with that. Like, I'm not saying what I'm saying is like true.
No, but
I don't believe
no. You are right though. I mean,
But, like,
that is like what
but it
anyone
is
would
it's
argue.
weird because, like, think of like an Aborigine tribe. Like, have you ever seen that video of those people? Like, I'm not laughing at their culture, some because I mean it's their thing. But like those dudes, they build a tower out of sticks. And they tie a rope to their feet and they jump off that bitch and they just fucking yoink themselves like all the way down. And it's like that's the ceremony they have to become a man. And that's what's normal. And for us, because we live in a predominantly like quote unquote educated, like westernized, like Judaic based faith, like morality system, like even atheists still agree that like it's wrong to kill people. But they see it as like this is the way to be a man, you know? And so it's like, if that was the original, if those were the original writers of the Bible,
I totally know.
So, you know, like,
I get it. I totally get it.
It would all be like, this makes sense. But like, just like raising a man to be able to hunt and provide for his family, that's not being a man, dude. Being a man is jumping off this fucking tower of sticks and yoinking yourself.
But the thing is,
like,
but once again, like, look, you're totally right. And if I was born into that culture, I would totally, I mean, I really don't know, you know, because I do know that there's a lot of things in society that are more normal than that. And I'm like, I don't think this is accurate. And like, I do, like if I was that same person, like I do wonder if I was sitting in that trial. Because like people have tried to brainwash me towards a lot of things. And I get it. Sometimes we are brainwashed. Like even my opinion on this is a form of course. But yeah, like I wonder if I was sitting there, I'm like the guy was talking normal and then he comes back and he's like, no, after he like doinked his head. I feel like I might be like, I don't know, bro. And especially over like over time and over like, you know, I just think that culture would have evolved out of it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess like the point
you are right. No,
I guess.
No, I want to say that you are right and that everyone, like any like atheist would totally agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly. Like you are right.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't born in that culture, so I can't tell you. But I really think there's a big chance I might have been like, I don't know.
I mean, I still side with the idea that the Bible has too much truth for that to be like totally true. But what we're getting into is like the whole idea that like history is written by the winners, basically. So it's like whoever like dominated history, they're the ones who can set up society from that point on. It's like it's the whole idea, like not to get too deep into this, but like the whole concept of the Nazis was to take over the entire world so that they could set up society on their own terms. So like what their idea of society would be, that would now be the normal. You know, but like we live in a society that like
but
generally.
So I guess this is what I'm trying to say, and there's a second point for atheists as well. But basically, like eventually, I think that when something's immoral and something is wrong, we break out of it. So it's like, you know, there have been people like Hitler and these evil people that like enslave their people, but there's always an uprising that takes them down. And it's not that long of a time frame. Like at most we're talking like a 500-year empire or something like that. Like, you know, and like of them being evil. Right. And I just think that Christianity has just like stood the test of time. You know, for 5,000 years, like, yes, atheists are trying to break out of it, but it's not a morality issue. And that's what I'm saying. Like, with Christianity, I can lean back and like, the morality is still okay. But with some of these other things, like where you're doinking yourself and you're like hitting your head and you're getting stupid, like, I think most of the time when there's enough people involved and we're not like super isolated, like, we can see, like, that's not it, you know? And all I'm saying is just like,
Well, here's something, like, I'm totally playing the devil's advocate, and I don't believe what I'm saying. But it's just interesting for the idea of discussion, because this is what an atheist would say. Well, based on what you just said, Chris, explain how people in the Bible were okay with sleeping with and marrying 13-year-old girls.
But
it's like, you know, like, that's where it gets, like, tricky now.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, when you think of it, and it's like, culture changes, you know, like as we progress as humans, like we notice things more, you know, and like statuses and cultural ideas of power and superiority, all of that stuff changes. And as doctors and scientists have like built the credibility of like understanding human anatomy and psychology and stuff like that. We're able to determine that, like, you know what, 13-year-old girls, 13-year-old boys, they're not in their right mind. They're going through changes physiologically. So maybe we should consider this and not let them be married off at 13 years old. So it's like, it's totally like, it's the progression of life. Like, they were primitive people still, but the general laws of what was happening, like talking about cheating on your wife, talking about being a drunkard, doing drugs, that still stands true.
But I don't actually know if anything like that's a complex one. I mean, basically there's two arguments that exist in the world. Is it better to, you know, turn 18 and to find like the perfect person? You know, like let's talk about 18-year-olds and like getting married like when you're younger. Like, you know, like when you're 18, you know, most of the girls, like, they're going to clubs and stuff. Like, is it better to date a guy that's a little bit older that has more maturity to life? Like, because you are the guide. You are the guide to the woman. So like, I'm not saying what's right or what's wrong, but what I am asking is, are there actually negative consequences in society today from the fact that we wait so long for marriage? You know, by the time like a lot of girls turn 18, like they are already single mothers with a fucking broken home. Like literally, like by the time they're 16, they already have 4 fucking kids. By the time they're 18, they have 3 baby daddies. Like, and now those kids are raised in broken homes, and those things take place, and all of these things. And I'm here to say, like, sure, like, yeah, it's wrong. I'm just asking though, like, is the world also broken in a lot of ways too? You know, is there something to like younger marriage? You know, and I don't know, you know, maybe that's getting married younger, like in the church, like, you know, like a lot of people, they like in Lakeside, they get married like when they turn 18 years old, you know, like straight out of high school, and they marry 18-year-olds, you know what I'm saying, like in their age. But I think that there is something to like marrying, like being married at a younger age where you're not searching the rest of your life for fucking pussy and dicks and trying to experiment, because like what's gonna happen to you on that journey is you're gonna end up pregnant, you're gonna end up a father to a woman that you don't love, and you're gonna end up with a life of misery. And this isn't like fucking some like random thing I'm making up. Like 56% of people have divorces, and like 60% of like women that are over the age of like 20 or single moms or some shit. You know, like 50% or something. Yeah, some ridiculous number.
And I think that's like the whole cultural thing. It's like these are generational curses that we've brought upon ourselves. So like all of us people individually, we create the culture. And so it's like if one person starts doing it and glorifying it, it's like in the Bible even says stuff about this, but it's like if one guy's like, dude, I know I have 2 kids and a wife, but I've been banging this hot ass fucking other girl who bangs me and all my friends. It's like, you should try it. And it's like, it pulls other people into it. And so now we got a bunch of promiscuity going on, and they're going to abandon their families or ruin their families. And then women, they're going to be like, you know what? You're a piece of shit. Like, you're cheating on me and stuff. So I'm taking the kids. They try to raise them themselves. And then there's young men out there that don't have father figures, and they get lost in the sauce too, just like everybody else would. And it's like, these are the cultural changes that affect that stuff. And it's like that, like, that's kind of the whole point of it, is like talking about like that whole argument that I'm sure atheists love this shit. They would be like, well, fucking back in Jerusalem, they were marrying 13-year-olds and stuff. It's like, yeah, but these are cultural changes. I'm not condoning that, but it's like, we're a more advanced civilization than they were, so we can observe that, like, yeah, we shouldn't let 13-year-olds marry a 45-year-old man. Like, that's not right. And so it's like we set these rules, but then people go ahead and they shift the culture to think like, nah, dude, like, fuck that, like, I don't need to raise my kids and stuff. And so they go off and do their own thing, and then they're setting up a whole nother like realm of culture to develop, where it's like it's okay to like be a bum ass father, like absent from your child's life and stuff. Like, it's just like cultural progression, and it's like it's up to men. And that's something that I think like Andrew Tate was right about. It's like fucking like taking responsibility for the things you do and stuff. And like if you have a fucking kid, you better raise it, because these are the things that are turning society for the worse, I think. Right. Like it, I don't know. Like it's kind of a scattered like way
but
of going about
but that's my point though, on like like Islam allowing divorce and allowing yeah, just like multiple wives is just, it's gonna be hard to raise those kids, and the odds that it leads to a bad place is high. It's very high. Like it's more likely
Yeah.
than not. Like the odds of a man being able to control four different women, or like handle them, or whatever you want to call it, like is very slim to none. You know, you're lucky if you find a man that can handle
Mhm.
one single woman in today's age, and just in general, period. You know, I think even back like before it was hard. You know, like
Yeah. No, it's
unless you're extremely oppressive, I feel like that's the only way. Like you either got to be like so rich and powerful that like it really somehow works, and you know how to navigate it, or I feel like you got to be pretty oppressive to have like five wives, because people nag. Like
mm,
this is just human nature. People nag, and you're just gonna have a lot of like. I don't really want to be surrounded by a lot of different people in general. Like I don't want to have five friends at my house all
mm,
the time. I don't want to have five girls at my house all the time. I want to have
yeah.
like me and like my wife, which is why we have one dick and one vagina that perfectly mold into each other perfectly. Like there
Mm.
clearly isn't two dick holes for the vagina, you know? You know?
No, but I mean, dude, like something that's interesting that like I forgot where I heard it from. I think it was like one of my like professors or something from school, but he was saying like he used to live in Dubai, and he was saying like Dubai, like you can go drink at bars and clubs and stuff, but you're not allowed to buy alcohol and like take it home and stuff, from my understanding. And he said I'm pretty sure I want to say it's like the leader of Dubai. I don't know. I don't think they have a dictator. I can't remember
They
what
got
it is, but like
they got princes and shit that are pretty big.
yeah, dude, leaders, you can like look this up. Leaders from all over the fucking world go to this guy for advice on how to run their country. And he always has these perfect answers and stuff. And it's like, I would not be surprised. I don't know the statistics, but if you look at like divorce rates in Dubai, if you look at like all the crime statistics and compare it to the world, I guarantee it's probably way better than fucking any other place. Not any other place, but at least America. America is just a cesspool of like fucked up culture.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I would say it's godless culture. That's what it is. And
yeah, but
Hmm?
you know, I think that people sometimes confuse that though with the religion as the problem versus like the government or freedom. I mean, at the end of the day, we are in the land of the free, and you are free to do what you want, and that means being as degenerate as you
Mm,
want or whatever as you want. I think
yeah.
the problem though with society is that like our society in the United States is that like we now have these mass medias that push the agenda of the negative thing, and it used to be so much easier to fight against. You know, like before it's just like,
Mm,
you know, your local mayor was like the one making your decisions or something like that. And like, you know,
yeah.
whatever, it wasn't that big of a deal. But like when they're putting stuff down your kids' eyes and like meaning like on the screens of the
Mm,
phone and all these things, it's just
yeah.
different. It's just different now. So like I don't know if I say that it's because Islam is stricter. Like I think it's just because their government actually follows the principles of Islam, and if they actually like we used to, which is when we weren't a godless country, when we used to say our father, or not our father, you know,
Mm,
the pledge of, I don't even remember the pledge of allegiance. It's been so long. I
no.
pledge allegiance, yeah, to the flag. Yeah, right. Like, you know, under God, you know, the days when the presidents were speaking of God and saying like, you know, may God bless this country and may God make America great. Like, though, like there
Yeah.
was something to this morality that disappeared. So like, I don't know if we should go saying like society's a better society with Islam. It's just like society's a better society when they have true moral principles that are being followed, and that we're promoting these things, the morality that we stand on.
Mm. Like something that comes to mind is like here come like the feminists, dude, because they're gonna be like, oh, so Chris, what you're saying is you want to go back to the 1930s where women didn't have rights and a man could just bitch slap them and say, you stay home and raise the kids and stuff, you know. like,
Mm-hmm.
like that's kind of what it gets into.
But
It's
no, but
interesting
but
because
thank goodness though. Like, and I don't know if it's like our age, but I don't think so. I think it's the guys like Andrew Tate and stuff like that. They have made the shift, and women are realizing that they were duped as well. They were duped in believing that, like, because they got older and they got in their careers and they were all like, wait a minute, like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that the only thing I had to do was clean up a little bit around the house? And now my heels are bleeding because I'm working 15 hour shifts,
right.
all because I just didn't want to help my husband. Like, them feet are hurting, baby. I bet they are.
And it's like, I feel like that kind of was the breakdown of, like, I want to say, like, systemic, functional, like, marriage and moral.
But 2024, just a little off topic, like, but 2024 and 2023 and all this shit, dude, we punched right through that smoke screen, bro. That shit was really hazing up and getting so strong, bro. Like, you need you better say that a female is a man, like whatever. Like, me and you always talk about. I have no problem. Like, I think that, you know, if you ask me to call you James and that's who you want to be, I have no problem calling you James. But it's like when the whole world is like, will you call her a woman or not? Yes or no? It's like, whoa, well, motherfucker, now that you want to get like that, I guess it's not a woman, motherfucker. Like, I wouldn't have really cared that much before, but, like, you're tripping. Like you know, get in, like, just, you can't talk about this on social media, da-da-da-da-da. And, like, the smoke, and like, it made me almost believe this stuff. Like, okay, you're right. Like, women can have penises too. I get it. But then, like, you know, like, they did start to, like, rip through the smoke screen and open it up, and people popped their head through, and, like, Elon Musk gave us, I mean, people don't realize how powerful it is what Elon Musk did giving us X, because it's like, you can't be canceled anymore. You now can be thrown off of Fox News, CNN. You can be thrown off of YouTube, but you'll always have a safe haven that you can always go to. If you, whatever it is, whatever your opinion is, know that you're fucking basically safe. And it's like, that's a beautiful thing. And that killed cancel culture. Cancel culture is dead. They try to get us. They try to get everybody. You know? And it's like, it's dead.
It's like, that's one of the most important things. I can't remember how Jordan Peterson said, but he was saying, like, it's always risky when you talk about opposing opinions. And it's like, when you start to try and shut people's opinions down, it's going to create, like how you said, like, you better call James Miss James. And it's like, well, now that you're trying to make me do it, fuck you. Like, James is fucking Mr. James, you know? And it's like, it's like when you start to impose your opinion on people, like, people are going to respond negatively. And it's like the idea of free speech isn't so that you can oppress each other. It's so that you can freely and openly communicate ideas. And it's like the very idea of just being respectful, that's a moral thing. That has nothing to do with, like, politics or anything. It's like, if you want to be a dickhead, you're going to be a dickhead no matter what. But when you start forcing shit on people, it's like, that's just going to create tension. So it's like, you have to be able to preserve free speech to exchange ideas and make things better, you know? And it's like, it's at the expense of potentially offending people or hurting people and stuff, you know? But it's like, that's how we progress as a society. The moment we stop, like, expressing ourselves, like, shit's gonna get fucking worse, way worse.
Yeah, I would much rather, like, I would rather people be able to call me names and things like that than, like, to not be able to, like, but, you know, I think that we're all, like, on the same page. I mean, it's like, you have free speech, but, like, if you run up to a person and you're, like, calling them insane words, I mean, you're probably gonna get fucking stomped in the streets. And I do think, like, I mean,
that's what we should bring back, dude. Is just fucking good old fashioned ass whoopings, dude. Like, it's scary now because, like, you could say something to somebody.
This boy's dying.
And they'll fucking pull a gun out on you for saying something wrong to him, dude. But it's like, I feel like back in the day, if you said some fucked up shit to somebody and just, like, fought it out, you would go about your day and you're like, oh man, that dude beat the shit out of me. Maybe I'm not going to say that again to somebody. And it's like, things were good. But it's like, now it's like fucking people are just going crazy. And it's like, they're so fucking opinionated, trying to prove themselves and shit, prove who's right, who's wrong. And they're just, like, way more fucking violent, way more divided, way more angry. It's like, I don't know, everybody just needs to chill. have a good boxing match, throw some hands, and just fucking get over it.
Yeah.
Like, there's much more important shit to be worrying about than fucking, like, whether or not everybody agrees that Miss James is a woman. You know, it's like, fucking, dude, like, go do something else. Like, go exercise, go to the gym, like, go read a book, like, do something productive with your life, you know?
And it's like, the thing is too, is like, as much as I'm like, dude, stop trying to force shit down my throat. If I was standing next to someone and someone was bullying someone that's transvestite, I would fucking punch them in their shit. Like, if they were doing it for no reason, like, yo, you fucking calling them names, calling them like whatever, like, bro, that's so mean, bro. That's a person. What's wrong with you, dog? If you believe that they're like, I'm not saying that whatever, but I'm saying if you believe that they're also like maybe a little bit like, you know, there's like a psychological aspect going on there as well. It's like, so what, now you're going to bully them even further? Like, this is crazy talk. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't bully nobody. It don't matter who it is. Like, yeah. So, you know, I think like generally as a society, like we're all on the same page. And like, I think if Alan was here, he would disagree. He would tell me that like society never try to overly push it. We're taking it too far. He totally forgets all of that shit, bro. He doesn't believe any of that. He doesn't believe anything about, like, he doesn't think COVID was really a scam. He gets mad when I say that. He thinks that, like, the vaccines were fine and that's how it was supposed to go down. And, you know, he believes that we gained more information and that's why they're able to tell us now that, like, vaccines are bad. But I'm like, dude, we told you this the whole time.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the whole thing, is, like, to be able to say, like, you know what, Alan, like, I'm not saying this, but if you were to say Alan, I think that's a stupid fucking opinion, and I think you're dumb for saying that. So what? Yeah. So what, dude? Like, you don't gotta fucking get all angry and pissed off and start a fucking riot about it and shit. It's just like, okay, you have an opposing opinion and stuff, but it's like, the whole point is, like, let's talk about it then. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But, like, people are just set on this bullshit of, like, I'm right, you're wrong, and, like, society needs to be better, and I have this moral compass that's superior to everybody's, so I'm gonna fucking, like, fix these injustices. It's like, no, the fuck you're not.
But isn't
like,
that what we're saying?
Huh?
But isn't that what we're saying?
Well, I mean, I'm saying that everybody should just have your opinion and be able to talk about it. Like, don't try to fucking, like, force something down your throat. Like, if my opinion is freedom of speech and being able to have cordial conversations about disagreements and stuff, then yes, I would force that down people's throat. Because I don't believe in having, like, this, like, strict, like, socialist Nazi type behavior where things are off limits. Like, you're not allowed to talk about that. Because it's like, if we can't talk about the racial injustices, if we... Huh?
I say, you're definitely getting me banned off of YouTube. You keep dropping that word. That's like YouTube's...
What?
The N-word, the other N-word.
What other N-word?
The party, the parties, the people.
Oh, Nazi. Nazi.
Oh, I'm done for it.
Okay, I'm gonna say the naughties. The naughties.
Yeah, those naughty, like, the naughty ones.
Yeah, those naughty guys, dude. If we can't, like, have normal discourse of being able to exchange ideas and opinions and stuff, then that's the type of society we're gonna live in, is like a naughty society. Where, like, it's no longer like you can express yourself and, like, we can maybe develop a better decision. It's like, no, you shut the fuck up and you fall in line and you leave the rules to us. You know, I think throw you in jail for saying.
I think that America is the best in this way. I think that, and this is me choosing a side, I think that we should be a Christian nation. We still, in every single time that we say our Pledge of Allegiance, we include God inside of it. I think that we generally, as we already do, align a lot of the laws with the Bible and biblical principles. I think that we teach families to stay together and to choose partners wisely. I think that we teach morality, that a lot of it that comes from the Bible. And I think that we should do those things. However, I'm totally okay if you want to go and explore atheism, or if you want to go and do those things, and if you want to create, like, more people. But I do think that this country is in God we trust. Like, that is, like, I would, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that is what we are. Like, that doesn't mean that you don't have religious freedom, but that baseline, that thing, like, when everything goes wrong, it's always right here. You can go anywhere you want, But I think the best place for things to lay on top of is that moral foundation, true morality.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, that's exactly what I think. I agree 100%. But it's like that's not gonna fly. Like people,
But it did fly.
People are raging just at what you're saying. They're raging. They're like, keep God out of politics.
Yeah.
Like God hates like
But
homosexuals.
I just don't even get it though. Like, what's up with people? Like, they're just like,
they're NPCs, dude.
the abortion thing. The abortion thing like really gets me sometimes. It's just like, why are you so proud and excited to kill your baby? Relax. What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, these motherfuckers are wearing like shirts and shit with picket signs like saying like about killing babies. Like, what the fuck, dude? And I know like they're gonna say like I'm taking shit out of context. Like, I totally understand that there's like rape victims in this world. I totally understand like things, but like why like kill your baby now? Like, way too far. Way too far. Like, I think it's also I think it's too far too to like completely remove abortion, like completely, but like it's the propaganda of it. It's the fear, it's the fist pumping for it. And like, what do you do if you get like, it's no longer is life about, hey, like choose the right husband and you're gonna build long, beautiful marriages. It's like, no, if you fuck up, you're gonna get an abortion, right? If you do it again, you're gonna get another abortion, and then one day you'll find and it's like, listen, guys.
Dude, Bill Burr has this funny fucking joke where he's talking about abortion and like he's saying like imagine me, I'm baking a cake and I take the batter and I put it in a cake pan and I put it in the oven and my wife walks in and she's like, oh, what are you doing? And I say, I'm baking a cake. And then she fucking takes it out and throws it on the floor and she's like, that's not a cake. And it's like, it fucking was gonna be until you fucking killed it, you know? And it's like, it's true. It's like, it was gonna be a fucking person, you know? So it's like, whether you want to debate like, well, it's just a bundle of like atoms. It's like, it was gonna be a fucking person. You killed a person.
Yeah.
You know? It's true, dude. Like,
yeah.
Controversial.
Like if I go and I like kill a butterfly in its cocoon, I still killed a butterfly. Like, maybe it was a worm butterfly, but like it's a butterfly. Like, okay, it's a worm. Okay, it's a worm. It's still dead.
Yeah.
Like that worm thing dead. That is the key word here. Something died.
Yeah.
Clumps of cells died. Death. Wow, look at that. I was like death, and it made hearts.
Yeah, what the
Or maybe those are hearts for the little clumps of cells that could have grown.
Yeah. R.I.P. all the aborted babies.
But it is like this is the conversation that like I can't even like get through to people. It feels so nice to like just speak it like this. It's just like we just shouldn't be cheering for killing babies, dude. This is 1+1.
No,
this is 1+1 stuff, you know?
There's a niche of people, like a very specific group of people that just fucking pull their hair out at this very conversation. It's just like NPCs, dude. They're just NPCs, man. Have nothing better to do. They have no purpose in life. They're just out here fucking like existing, fighting for nothing, dude. They're fighting over fucking dog shit. They're actually doing a lot of harm to the world. They're fighting for something, but it's just stupid behavior.
The Democratic Party is dead, though, bro. The Democratic Party is fallen. It's gone. We're free, bro. Like, for real?
Yeah.
Like, no fucking cuck shit. No fucking, like, whatever. But, like, Andrew Tate and Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they really worked on freeing the people, bro. They freed the people from, like, from technological chains of like can't speak and like dictatorship over our lives. And for so long we couldn't even talk, we couldn't even have conversations on YouTube, and like it just feels so good to be able to just like talk about these things. Because like, what if we were just on the journey right now? Like, let's pretend this ain't the fucking world, fuck off anybody, like, but it's like what if we were going to come to the world that abortion was right, but we had to have this conversation to fucking get there, right? Like, so like, let us fucking talk it out for a while. Let us fucking converse about the painful topics that are hard to talk about and like not get so mad at us because these are important topics, like to understand. Like the only way we're going to do this is like, sure, we can debate and sure, we can like have our voices slightly heightened, but like once you start like name calling and like you're like head spinning around, like, whoa, brother.
Imagine going to bed hearing this. Like, people that are just, if somebody watches this, imagine going to bed angry and being like, that fucking Aaron and Chris think they can talk about whatever they want. Like, there's people out there that are doing that, but it's like, at least we're all aware that these people are fucking nuts. Like, they're crazy. Like, that's not normal behavior to fucking hear words and ideas and just get fucking crazy as fuck about it. It's just stupid.
No, there's a comment here from like, hold on, I posted, it was on Instagram. It was about Elon Musk. Let me see if I can find it. Like everybody is just like saying like he destroyed Twitter, and it's on this like liberal page, and it's just like, dude, he literally just gave free speech. He literally just opened up one door. There was speech here and there was a door that was closed and he just went like this to it. That's all that happened. That's it. It's the exact same fucking platform, exact same everything. It's actually progressing. It's getting better. He's bringing on both Democrats and Republicans on the platform to stream. He's trying to give us both opinions and people's heads are just spin around.
Yeah. Savior of the world, of the modern world.
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy and scary is technology almost had us completely controlled with just technology that's just on our phones. This shit doesn't even think yet. It doesn't even think. And they were still managing to control us from it. So what is this future about to look like with AI and everything else? And if these powers continue to get the control over technology, because we just saw, like, bro, we literally barely made it out alive on that one. Like, if they really tried, if there wasn't Trump, if there wasn't Elon, if there wasn't Andrew, dog, we would right now be sitting here saying, like, okay, I'll take my next vax. I won't go to, like, work ever again, or I'll listen to you. Like, it would have been bad, bro.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, like, the whole thing with, like, the news makes their, like, they make their money off of fear. Like, they talk about shit that scares people. So imagine once they get a hold of AI, they can cater to everybody's fears and even make it worse. Like, they'll be able to take very sensitive people and turn them into fucking, like, straight up people hiding in their houses 24/7 because they're afraid to go outside and, like, touch grass because suddenly grass is infected with this and, like, you need to get this vaccine. They're like, oh, like it's like AI is going to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Because why would you doubt AI? It has the factual answers. It said it's what's right. That's what we have to do. Scientifically speaking, the robot spat it out. That was the correct information. Now do it. This is what the robot says that society must complete. We must do this or it's going to be bad. So it's for your own good. It's like, motherfucker, we've been fine for 5,000 years. Fuck off.
Yeah, right? It's like, basically, don't be a fucking pussy.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking raw dog life, live it out. You're not here for a long time. Don't be a pussy, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's shit that you should be afraid of every single day, but you still fucking get up and go do your shit. So it's like, just live your life. Stop being a bitch. And just, I don't know, be open. Just be open to other people's shit, you know?
Yeah.
But I gotta call it, dude. I gotta get to sleep, man.
Brother, I thought we were pulling an all-nighter.
Oh no, I'm getting fucking exhausted, bro.
We were just...
That booze is getting to me.
How about you work on your store, and I'll work on my stuff, and we'll do it for the next 30 minutes, and we'll go to sleep.